Pearl never expected one man to shake up her carefully built world. It was a quiet Thursday evening at the Elmage, her small boutique hotel tucked away in a sleepy part of town. Pearl, 31, stood behind the polished front desk, checking the day's bookings when the heavy front doors swung open. A gust of cool air followed him in. She looked up. He wasn't like the usual guests. Tall, sharp suit, confident steps, and eyes that scanned the lobby like they belonged there. "Evening," he said, voice low and smooth. He flashed a half smile. "Name's Newman. I have a reservation for 2 nights. Is there anything fun to do around here?" Pearl blinked, caught off guard. She had seen all types, but something about him, calm, playful, curious, felt different. "That depends," she said, handing him a brass room key. "What kind of fun are you looking for?" Newman gave a small laugh. "Surprise me." Their eyes held for a second longer than usual. Then he turned and walked toward the stairs, his phone still in hand. Pearl stood still, wondering why her heart felt like it skipped a beat. Newman checked out the next morning. Quick and smooth, just like his arrival. Pearl found his room key on the desk. And something else. A folded note. She stared at it for a few seconds before picking it up. "Greater than, enjoyed our chat. Want to continue it over dinner. Newman. 555-230-8711. Pearl smiled, just a little. She didn't mix work with personal life. Ever. But something about him, the way he looked at her like she wasn't just a hotel manager but a whole story worth reading. She stared at the number for hours before finally typing. "Greater than, dinner tonight." His reply came in seconds. "Greater than, I was hoping you'd say that. Pick a place, and I'll be there." Pearl chose Brickhouse Kitchen, a cozy little restaurant near the park with candle-lit tables and soft jazz playing in the background. It was her safe spot, a quiet place where the world slowed down. When Newman walked in, she almost didn't recognize him. No suit, just jeans and a navy button-down. Relaxed, even more handsome. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. "You look like the kind of woman who owns her own space." She laughed. "That's because I do." They talked like old friends. About cities they'd been to. Books they'd faked reading. Pearl told him how she had taken over the Elmage asterisk when it was falling apart and turned it into something beautiful. "I needed peace," she said. "Something I could pour myself into." Newman nodded, listening closely. "And now it's more than peace. It's my home." More than one night. Dinner turned into coffee. Coffee turned into long walks. Long walks became hours of conversation. Newman didn't just charm her. He saw her. Pearl had built walls over the years. Sturdy, high, and thick. But somehow, his presence made the cracks feel less scary. He wasn't a regular guest. And this wasn't a regular connection. "You picked a good spot," Newman said, sliding into the seat across from her. "Charming, just like its owner." Pearl let out a nervous laugh. "Well, technically, I just manage the place. I don't own it." He leaned in a little, resting his elbows on the table. "You might as well. You run it like it's your heartbeat." That made her blink. No one had ever put it that way before. Dinner was easy after that. Like two old friends catching up. They talked about their favorite books. Hers was always something quiet and thoughtful, his something fast and clever. Newman told her about flying from city to city for work, always chasing the next big deal. "I work in finance," he explained, swirling his wine. "Lots of pressure, lots of numbers. Sometimes it feels like I'm just trying to outrun something." "And you?" he asked gently. "What keeps you here?" Pearl hesitated. Her voice softened. "My sister, Lucy. It's just been the two of us since I was 21. After we lost our parents, I had to become everything for her. So, dreams had to wait. Safety came first." Newman's eyes softened. "That's a heavy load," he said. "You must be stronger than you look." Pearl gave a small smile. "We all carry something." When she turned the question on him, asking about his family, something shifted in his face. He looked away. "Let's just say, me and my family, we don't see eye to eye." His voice dropped, just enough for her to hear the hurt underneath. She didn't press. Everyone had their shadows. Something new. By dessert, Pearl was laughing in a way she hadn't in years. Newman was quick-witted, kind, and deeply present. He didn't just talk, he listened. When he walked her home, to her apartment just above the Elmage, he didn't try to kiss her. He just stood on the step, hands in his pockets, looking up at her with a soft smile. "I'd like to see you again," he said. "And not just because the food here is better than airport meals." Pearl tilted her head, teasing. "Maybe, if your busy schedule doesn't pull you away again. I'll make time," he said. And he did. More than a moment. One dinner turned into two. Two became weekend walks, quiet Sunday mornings, and sleepy movie nights. Newman became a rhythm in her life. Smooth, unexpected, warm. He fit like he had always belonged there. They laughed, argued over takeout menus, shared their favorite songs, and even fought over whose coffee was stronger. But always, at the end of each night, he stayed close. One night, curled up on the sofa, Pearl whispered, "I still can't believe how fast this is moving." Newman turned to her, brushing a soft curl from her cheek. "When something feels right, why wait?" he said. "I've never been sure of many things in life, but this," he touched her hand, "this I'm sure about." Pearl's chest tightened with something sweet and unfamiliar. A mix of joy and fear. "It's just, I'm not used to letting people in like this," she said quietly. He didn't flinch. He simply took her hand. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to build something with you," Newman said, his voice warm against Pearl's cheek as they sat close on the couch. "A future, starting with a wedding neither of us will ever forget." Pearl blinked, stunned. "You're serious?" she asked, heart pounding. "Dead serious," he replied, his smile gentle but full of certainty. "Let's make something unforgettable." From that moment, the dream took shape. Pearl had never been the girl to fantasize about flower arrangements or first dances, but Newman painted it all like a beautiful canvas. His excitement was contagious. He had ideas for everything: venues, color palettes, music that would play under fairy lights. "Picture it," he whispered one night, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "A rose garden ceremony, string lights overhead, that dress that makes the whole world stop turning when you walk out." Pearl laughed, feeling both dizzy and alive. "And the honeymoon?" Newman raised an eyebrow. "Only the most expensive hotel in the world. A suite with ocean views and gold taps." She teased, "Are we robbing a bank for this?" "I'll handle the honeymoon and the house," he said confidently. "You use your savings for the wedding. Let's start this right." The logical side of Pearl hesitated. She wasn't used to moving fast, wasn't used to letting go of control. But the woman who had waited years to feel this alive, she nodded. The following weeks were a blur. Appointments, deposits, wedding dress fittings, cake tastings. Newman was everywhere at once, full of charm and focus. "You're amazing," Pearl told him one night, watching him flip through vendor catalogs like he'd done it all before. "I don't know how you're keeping it all together." He leaned over, kissed her forehead. "Seeing you happy is worth every second. This wedding, it's just the start. The real masterpiece is us, our life." Her heart swelled. She wanted to believe every word. But in the quiet hours, when the lights were off and the excitement faded, doubt sometimes whispered. Was this real, or was she being swept away by something too perfect? Each time those thoughts crept in, Newman's arms wrapped around her again. His voice, steady and sweet, pulled her back. As the big day grew closer, Pearl knew one thing for sure: she couldn't do this without Lucy. Her little sister, her anchor since their parents died. So, one afternoon, Pearl grabbed her phone and dialed. "Hey," she said with a smile. "Think you can trade coffee stains for wedding gowns today?" Lucy's laugh came bright and warm through the speaker. "For you, always. Give me an hour." At the bridal boutique, the air was thick with lace and excitement. Gowns hung like clouds. Pearl tried on dress after dress. some too puffy, others too plain. But then, she stepped into one that made her breath catch. Strapless, elegant, soft fabric that flowed like water. It hugged her like it had been waiting for her all along. The room went silent. Then Lucy whispered, eyes wide with emotion, "That one, it's like it was made for you." Pearl turned slowly in the mirror, seeing herself not just as she was, but as a bride. A woman loved, seen, and chosen. "I think so too," she whispered back. Pearl sat on the cold kitchen floor, Newman's phone still in her trembling hands. Her chest felt tight, like she couldn't breathe. Each message between him and Lucy cut deeper than the last. "She's falling for every lie. With the baby, we can finally be together. She's a naive cash cow. After the wedding, we disappear. You, me, and the baby." Baby. Pearl's world tilted. A sharp knock on the door made her jump. She quickly placed the phone back on the counter and wiped her tears. Newman walked in with fresh coffee and that same disarming smile. "Morning, beautiful," he said, leaning in to kiss her. She turned her head. He froze. "What's wrong?" She looked up at him, eyes empty. "Is there something you need to tell me?" Newman blinked. "What do you mean?" "Lucy, the baby, the messages." Her voice cracked. For a second, his mask dropped. His lips parted slightly, stunned. But just as quickly, he forced a smile. "You went through my phone. You lied to me," she shouted, standing now. "You used me, Newman. Everything you said, all of this, it was fake." He stepped closer. "Pearl, listen." "No," she backed away. "Don't you dare touch me." "I didn't mean to." She threw a pillow at him. "You and my sister, were you ever going to tell me?" Newman sighed, tired of pretending. "You were an opportunity. That's it. I needed money. She needed a way out." "Don't act surprised. You're the one who rushed into a fantasy." Pearl's heart shattered, but her tears stopped. A cold stillness took over. She crossed her arms. "Get out, Pearl." She pointed to the door. "Get out, now." Newman stared for a moment, then grabbed his jacket and left. The door slammed shut behind him. Pearl's heels struck the stone path with soft, firm steps. Each one echoed the calm fury in her heart. The garden was beautiful, roses in full bloom, sunlight kissing every petal. Everything looked like a dream. But Pearl wasn't in a dream anymore. She was wide awake. Newman stood at the altar in his crisp suit, smiling like the charming liar he was. The guests rose, turning to watch the radiant bride. She walked alone, head high, eyes locked on the man who had planned to ruin her. He had no idea what was coming. When she reached him, he leaned in and whispered, "You look like magic." Pearl looked up at him. "And you look like a mistake I'm about to correct." He blinked. "What?" Before he could ask again, the officiant cleared his throat and began. "Dearly beloved." Pearl let the words wash over her, standing still, clutching her bouquet like a weapon. Her eyes scanned the crowd and stopped at Lucy, her sister, sitting in the front row, wearing a pale blue dress and a guilty face. When it was time for vows, Newman turned first. "I never believed in fate," he began. "But from the moment I met you." Pearl held up a hand. "Actually, I'd like to speak first," she said, her voice carrying through the garden. Newman nodded, trying to look doting. She turned to face the guests. "Thank you all for coming," Pearl began, her voice steady. "I wanted today to be unforgettable. And it will be, but not for the reasons you think." A soft murmur moved through the seats. She looked back at Newman. "You taught me something. You and Lucy both. You taught me how far love can fall when people you trust turn it into a game." Lucy's face paled. Pearl continued, pulling her phone from the folds of her dress. "You see, Newman didn't come into my life by chance. He came with a plan. And so did my sister." Gasps scattered among the guests. "I found the messages," Pearl said, locking eyes with Lucy. "Every disgusting word, every lie." Newman stepped forward. "Pearl, let's go somewhere and talk." She stepped back. "Stay there. You've already said enough." She turned to the crowd again. This man and my sister planned to take everything from me. My money, my peace, my trust. Lucy stood now. Pearl, please. You were my sister, Pearl said, her voice cracking. You were all I had left. Silence stretched as the truth hung in the air like smoke. Then Pearl took a slow breath and tossed the bouquet to the grass. I won't be marrying anyone today, she said. But I will be starting something new. For me. She walked back up the aisle, alone but stronger than she had ever been. Pearl had planned for chaos. But this was a masterpiece. The moment Lucy showed up in a white dress, screaming, "He's mine. I'm carrying his child," the crowd had gasped so loud it seemed the earth had shifted. Pearl didn't blink. She simply stepped aside from the altar and smoothed her gown like a queen straightening her crown. "Oh, of course," she said calmly, voice cutting through the chaos like a knife through silk. "Why wouldn't I step aside? I wouldn't want to miss the show. After all, I paid for the stage, the lights, the costumes, might as well enjoy it." And with that, she walked to the front row and sat, poised, glowing, deadly calm. Newman blinked, confused. "Pearl, what is this?" She looked up at him with a soft smile. "Go on. Don't let me stop you." Lucy, still standing beside him, looked like she expected Pearl to attack, or at least cry. Instead, she watched Pearl like someone waiting for the floor to crack under her. And it did. "Stop this wedding." A woman's voice rang from the back of the garden. Everyone turned. A tall woman with sharp eyes and storm-colored hair marched forward in heels that echoed power. Newman's face turned white. "Catherine, you snake," the woman snapped. "How dare you stand here pretending to be a man of honor?" Pearl stood slowly, eyes locked on Newman. "I believe some introductions are in order," she said coolly. "Everyone, meet Catherine, Newman's real wife." A scream rippled through the crowd. "You're lying," Lucy hissed, eyes wide. "No," Catherine growled. "He married me 10 years ago. And then disappeared when I got sick. He left me with his debts and a child he doesn't even ask about." More whispers. Phones came out. Someone started filming. Pearl stepped forward. "Oh, but that's not all." She pulled out a folder from under her chair, flipping it open for all to see. "I hired a private investigator. Newman, whose real name is Elliot, isn't just married. He's broke. His businesses failed. He's been using women like credit cards. Wining 'em, draining 'em, and walking away richer." She turned to Lucy. "You weren't special," Pearl said. "Just useful. A way to trap me into giving more, to keep me blind while he pulled strings behind my back." Lucy's lips trembled. "Please, tell me this isn't true." Elliot tried to speak, but no sound came. His charm had cracked. His voice, useless. Then came the final blow. A black luxury car pulled up at the edge of the garden. Out stepped an older couple. Stiff, elegant, cold. "Mom, Dad," Elliot croaked. His father didn't smile. "We saw the evidence. Pearl was kind enough to send us everything." His mother looked at him like a stranger. "You're not our son anymore," she said. "You are a disgrace. You're cut off from our money, our name, our lives." Elliot staggered back, the perfect life he built now a pile of ash around his feet. Pearl exhaled. Then she picked up her train, turned to the guests, and said, "Drinks are still on me. But the wedding's off." The crowd clapped. Some laughed. Others simply stared in awe. Pearl walked out of the garden alone, but never stronger. Pearl walked past Newman without a word, her veil floating behind her like a flag of freedom. There was no need for revenge. The truth had done more than she ever could. She had justice, and that was enough. In the weeks that followed, Pearl filed a lawsuit against Newman, real name Elliot, for emotional abuse, fraud, and financial manipulation. The evidence was airtight. The court awarded her $50,000 in damages. It wasn't about the money. It was about being seen, heard, and finally believed. Elliot's life crumbled. His accounts were frozen. His legal wife, Catherine, sued him too. Friends vanished. Family disowned him. He had no one left. And Lucy, She showed up on Pearl's doorstep one gray morning. Tears stained her face, her body shaking. I don't know what to do, she said in a whisper. He's gone. I'm pregnant, and I have no one else. Pearl stared at her quietly, heart calm but firm. You had someone, me, a sister, but you chose him. You lied. You betrayed everything we had. I know, Lucy sobbed. Please, I'm scared. Pearl's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. You made your choice, she said, stepping back into her home. And now, you live with it. She closed the door, not in hate, not in anger, but in peace. That chapter, sister, fiancé, betrayal, was closed. Months later, the boutique, the Elmidge Inn, bloomed brighter than ever. Pearl turned her heartbreak into fuel. She traveled, Barcelona, Cape Town, Venice. She laughed. She made new friends. She took herself out to dinner, walked through parks at sunset, and rediscovered who she was before lies clouded her light. Love didn't come rushing back. She didn't need it to. She was too busy loving the version of herself she had fought to become. One day, someone asked her, "Don't you regret what happened? The wedding, the betrayal?" Pearl smiled, eyes soft. They wrote the story. I just gave it a better ending. If you enjoyed Pearl's story, her heartbreak, her strength, her quiet revenge, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales of resilience and redemption. Let's celebrate stories that remind us, no matter how dark it gets, we can always rewrite the ending.